who ran profoundly irresponsible operations in spending money that they didn't have. So there's no consequence. That's the key. There's no consequence to democratic malfeasance. There you go. We'll bail you out. We'll print more monopoly money. Wow, it's really something. The whole thing is really something, the time that we are in now. Right. Let's go to Cynthia in Palos Park, Illinois. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm calling because I wanted to tell you that my friend Karen, my best friend, and I are planning on going with you on the Stand with Israel tour. And my reason for going is I'm feeling very, very unsettled in my life right now with what's going on to my beloved country. And I want to go to Israel to find some peace and some wisdom. And I'm wondering how many others that listen to your show are feeling the way I'm feeling, this loss of optimism with.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Lon Heachen of the Hoover Institution for Townhall.com. The Biden administration announced in their first week that the U.S. is rejoining the World Health Organization. But the WHO is a flawed group, one that has performed poorly while the world has struggled with COVID-19. Early on, the group was far too deferential to China, even parroting Beijing's early claim that the virus could not be transmitted between humans. Since then, an independent panel concluded that the WHO dithered in its response, waiting too long to declare an international emergency. All the while, the WHO has continued to block Taiwan's participation.
And there will be more children, and the United States needs that policy. Incentives matter. When a friend of mine retired from a school of business after a 40-year career, I went to his retirement party, and the dean of the school and said, "Richard, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but would you like to sum up your work of 40 years? He said, "Oh, sure, I can do that." It was supposed to be a joke. Incentives matter. Then he sat down. Be sincere, breed beef, be seated. That's FDR's warning to people. So $300 every month from the IRS per child. So if you've got 10 children, you're going to get $3,000 a month. More, actually, if some of those kids are under the age of 6. And if you've got 10, some of them will be. Okay, that's a great idea for the Democrats. If they're going to blow all this money, that's where it should go. The second part of the morning rundown was the fact that there's a fake news headline out there that the Chicago Teachers Union agreed with the Chicago school district to reopen. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They're going to reopen for children who are pre-K, some of them, and special ed students. And then high school students are never coming back to school this year. And we'll talk to you later about K through 8. They didn't agree to anything. Schools across the country are into two categories, those that are teaching and those that aren't. And teachers' unions are all in one category. They ought to be made illegal. And when the Republicans get back the majority in both houses, they should do that. They should disband teachers' unions. Now, they've been defunded by the Supreme Court, which is great. But every teacher out there, I know you are good people. Your unions are diabolical. And keeping schools closed right now, it's diabolical. It's anti-science. It's like teaching anti-evolutionary. We sprang up from the ground fully formed.
The virus could not be transmitted between humans. Since then, an independent panel concluded that the WHO dithered in its response, waiting too long to declare an international emergency. All the while, the WHO has continued to block Taiwan's participation because of political objections from the Chinese government, despite the fact that the world has much to learn from Taiwan's exceptional response to the virus. Before rejoining the WHO, we should have demanded some accountability and reform
The
from
Hugh
the
Hewitt Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break
each year.
in 3 minutes
It looks like
and 40
price is
break.
increasing
1
13.5%
minute
every year.
and 45 seconds.
You guys don't know from that. Again, this is Larry Summers. This is the Treasury Secretary under Obama.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
got to open up our schools. We got to let our kids get an education again.
That's my message almost every day. You're never going to get interest rates again like this, particularly after this $2 trillion rolls through and money accelerates. We're going to have inflation and interest rates are going to go back. I was talking with a fella out running the other day, very smart guy, just sold his business to another big business and continue. He is taking all of his money out of the market where he's been earning 2% returns. He's buying real estate because he knows when inflation arrives, real estate survives and thrives. So some people buy gold, other people buy dirt. If you want to buy dirt, andrewandtodd.com. Their names. I would absolutely, because number one, it cuts down on the burden on the parents. If 10 parents get together and they agree, for every 2 weeks, we'll take one day at my house and I'll keep an eye on the 10 kids. And by the way, we're going to do a little scripture in the morning and scripture in the evening. And you don't have to come if you don't want, but we're going to do a little gospel at the same time.
Right.
You betcha. And by the way, it's going to lead to, and I hope you make the migration because you sound like a guy who cares. What grade do you have, James?
I teach both 7th and 8th grade.
All right. I hope you end up in a charter school next year or a Catholic school. Because, these public schools have revealed themselves. I'm not being rhetorical. When I read that Chicago story this morning, it's the most corrupt thing I've ever seen. So, they
come out. And I come out, and this man is a Capitol Police officer. There was no partner, was not yelling, Capitol Police, etc., etc. But then it didn't feel right, because he was looking at me with a tremendous amount of anger and hostility.
So this was a Capitol Police officer that was trying to help her. And she immediately said that he was looking at me with a lot of anger and hostility. Let's go to cut 36, where the story gets even more complicated. Cut 36.
I talked to G, my legislative director, after the fact, and he said, no, I didn't know if he was there to help us or hurt us either. And G was actually like, this man came with so much hostility that G was sizing him up and didn't know if he was going to have to fight him. So like so many other communities in this country, like just that presence doesn't necessarily give you a clear signal if you're safe or not.
A little scholarly past that. You may want to read, is it Martin Gurri? Gurri is certainly the last name, Gurri, Revolt of the Public, for example, to see the role that the internet plays, these social networks play in what's happening now. It's a different kind of attack. It's not going to explain to you the nature of this side of the problem. It's going to explain to you the nature of the information world that we're trapped in. I do encourage everybody, though, to go read some Herbert Marcuse, especially Repressive Tolerance, for themselves directly.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now.
33 minutes after the hour, America. It's Hugh Hewitt, joined by Congressman Mike Gallagher. He's up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Congressman, I got a quiz for you. Did you watch the Super Bowl this past Sunday?
I did.
Did you know what the difference between Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers is?
Oh, Hugh, I don't know.
Pat Mahomes went for it on 4th down.
How would unrelated provisions like a $15 minimum wage, affect job creation at a time when people are already struggling, things like that? So a legitimate debate that should be had about the merits of this bill or lack thereof. But I take your point that the train is going to leave the station and few Republicans will be on board. And nonetheless, we should try and shape it in small ways to improve the bill in any way we can. I think there might be a small amount of money that's going towards the Defense Production Act in the bill, but I don't think there's anything meaningful for defense or for the defense industrial base. There's a $10 billion provision for cyber, about $690 million of which would go to CISA and $25 million of which goes to the new National Cyber director, but mostly it goes to tech modernization, a fund that would allow agencies to upgrade their networks after the solar winds attack. So that's a defense-ish provision. But no is the short answer to your question. And if we're talking about a stimulus, I can't think of a better stimulus than money going to defense in general and shipbuilding in particular. For every job created in my shipyard in Northeast Wisconsin, for example, there's 6 or 7 jobs created downrange. You have suppliers from 19 different